Welcome to Rise Up. Are you planning to move to Canada? If your answer is yes, then you're at the right spot. I'm your host, Ruju. In this podcast series, we will discover inspirational stories, valuable resources, and tips that will make your moving to Canada journey easier, faster, and better.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on our podcast today. Today, we have Ruju, our co-host, and we have a very special guest. And I love his inspiring story because if you look at the journey that he's taken, he has managed to get a job, secure his position in Canada even before he arrived in Canada. I would like to also share his journey in terms of his engineering degree. If you look at it, he specialized in his electronic engineering and then moved on to work in as a full stack developer. He worked with companies like Tech Mahindra, ADP, JP Morgan, and Capgemini. And now he's working with Scotiabank in Toronto. And we are so lucky and so excited to have you with us today. Trinadh, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for that warm introduction, Ron. So I didn't know I've done so much. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
I love the story about how you did your online research. You came up with a strategy and you applied that strategy and made it work for you so that when you, as the flight from India and the time you had, the couple of weeks that you had when you quit your previous job and you actually landed in Canada, you actually managed to get a job. And what I understood was the entire game and the strategy revolved around LinkedIn. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And so I remember you telling me that it had something. The first step that you started off with was as soon as you got your PR is to change your location, and that's how the LinkedIn algorithm works. So, could you share some of the insights you have on the LinkedIn algorithm?
Yeah, definitely. So, like you mentioned, LinkedIn played a key role in my immigration or my career journey. So in Canada. So as soon as I got the confirmation that I'm going to get my PR. So I changed my profile location to Toronto so that it appears in local searches. So what I figured out initially was I was going through few articles by recruiters or maybe LinkedIn mentors or people like career coaches, and I came to know that your profile location it's a differentiating factor when it comes to increasing your visibility or making your profile appear in recruiter searches. So even I was not sure, but after going through so many articles and doing a lot of research online, so I'm at a point that okay, so this is going to work. So that's how I started optimizing my LinkedIn profile, starting with changing my profile location, and it did work.
That's awesome. And I know I share that with all the people reaching out to me through Facebook and through LinkedIn about their journey and how to increase their chances of getting HR interviews. And this is the first point that I share in changing the profile, because that increases the chances of an HR recruiter seeing your profile, right?
Yes.
And
exactly.
and you mentioned that you reached out to mentors as part of your research and you sent them personalized messages. So could you share what those messages were and how did they respond to you, and what did you find that worked when you reached out to them?
Yeah, sure. So again, this is a very good question because many people didn't pay much attention when reaching out to someone or when sending a connection request. But again, thanks to those LinkedIn articles or there is another website called The Muse, which mainly focuses on career coaching or resume preparation and things like that. So I was following few websites similar to.
So the Muse is a Canadian website. The Muse?
It's a global one, so it's not.
Okay.
I think it's the origin of that website is somewhere in the United States, but they serve globally.
Okay.
So I was going through some of their articles and the the person who is on the other end, it could be a mentor and it could be a recruiter, or it could be a person like who you met probably at a virtual or an in-person event. So those personalized messages changes from person to person. But so what is the key element here is, be it a mentor or a recruiter or a coworker or somebody in your professional fraternity, you need to identify some common points. For example, even though they are a mentor, like there could be some common point between you or the other person, or there could be something that interests you basically. So if they posted some article, so if I were to send a connection request to someone, or for example, you're also a mentor, right? So what would I do is, I'll go through your profile. So I'll see the recent activity in your profile section and see how active you are, and what sort of posts you are putting, or like what. So within the activity section, I see like everything about you, like what you did, like what posts you added comments on, or what posts you like. I would try to derive some common element between you and me, and I would basically put that in my message. If I were to like say a message template, maybe so dear Ron, so I found your profile like through one of the posts made by so and so. So you commented on it, or you yourself post something which which is really intriguing, or thought provoking. So you need to identify what they do, and you need to spend some time see. So it's the thing is, you need to spend some time when you are expecting the other person to respond. Otherwise, it won't work, right? So
yeah, what I've seen in LinkedIn is usually that the response rate is less than 10%. If you send
very less.
Yeah, just a connection request, it's about around 1%. But if you actually do the personalized messages, then it goes up. You'll be able to bring it as close to 10%. But then that just means that you have to send consistently requests every day. And I let all my students and coaches and mentees know that hit at least 10 requests per day. So did you have a number that you were doing every day? Like how many people did you send requests to?
I couldn't recollect, but I wouldn't send like many per day. Probably it would just be a single digit, probably 5 or 6, because when you send so many, you'll be lost. Like you don't know, or you can't track like who like who. And another thing is, when you want to connect with someone, for example, a mentor, let's say I want to connect with you, Ron. So I would add something like, dear Ron, so I found your article very insightful. So I understand that you support newcomer groups, or you are into career coaching or things like that. So I would love to learn from your experience as a newcomer in Canada. So would love to connect with you. So that's how it would be, like short and crisp. And so once I send a message, once I send a connection request along with a personalized message, what I would do is I would follow them. I would follow them on LinkedIn, and once we follow the other person, like we in our newsfeed, like so we get their recent posts or their activity updates. So that way you know like what they are doing. So are they busy, or did they ever visit our profile? So if you let's say you added a new post. So let's say I sent a connection request to you today, and you're not accepting. Okay. So what I would do is I'll follow your profile, so that I'll get your activity update. So let's say tomorrow you posted something on LinkedIn. So what I would do is I would go through it. I would add some meaningful comment on your post, so that okay. So that way what you get is like, okay, so this guy is genuine, and like he's expressing some sort of interest in my content, and things like that. So that thing works, like not 100%, but probably like at least you have like 50-50 chance to have that person in your network.
That's an important point. The difference between just sending a connection request and actually following the other person, because you can follow the other person without, you don't need the other person's permission to follow somebody. And especially if you're so you're following them, you're seeing their posts, you're seeing the activity they're in, and if there's something that you like and you appreciate and you respect, and then you actually have some interest, and you can obviously interact and follow comments, because by commenting on their post, you're actually increasing the visibility of their post.
And
actually indirectly promoting them.
Also our profile visibility also get increased, because whosoever sees his post or her post, so they'll see in comment section your name and your profile. So it's a kind of branding for yourself too.
And you mentioned the concept of optimizing your LinkedIn profile, and we talked about about the first section where we change the location. What are the other things that you do to optimize it and Canadianize your profile? That's what I call it.
I
Canadianize your
wouldn't
profile.
say it's just like Canadianizing my profile, because LinkedIn, it's a global platform, right? So it's
Right.
neutral, and it applies to every other geography. So some of the things I did were like there are almost like 50 skills you can add. Most people don't utilize it to its maximum extent. So they just put probably their top 3 or 4 skills and they just leave it. So and also when it comes to your LinkedIn summary, so according to me, or according to like few LinkedIn or career coaches, your profile summary should be in first person. Like your LinkedIn profile is something like your virtual presence, right? So it
So
should be.
instead of saying, say, Ron Johnson is a mentor, you say I am a mentor, right? Instead of
Yeah.
saying,
So if you go to my profile, I would say, like, so hey, hi, I'm a software developer and I do this, I do that. It should be
right,
in first person, as if you're talking to somebody virtually. So if they
right,
if they read your summary, it should be something like as if you are saying it.
yes,
And the second one is like skills, and also adding your experiences correctly and concisely, like adding that description, not just adding that section, but you need to add some content over there, like what you did at so and so company, or if there is any volunteer experience, or if there are any certifications. And also another important thing I would tell all my friends and other newcomers is, as soon as you create your profile, you should customize your LinkedIn profile URL.
okay,
So once you create a LinkedIn profile, what LinkedIn does is it will Ron, if you go to my profile section, or if you see your profile section, so what you'll see is like www.linkedin.com/in/ and your name, and there will be some random string at the end, that is to make your profile URL unique. That's what LinkedIn does, but you need to do your part as well. If let's just think of having some LinkedIn profile URL on your resume, which ends with linkedin.com/in/Ron Johnson XYZ at ABC and upper 5 characters. That doesn't look professional, right? Just
right.
very similar to the concept of having a professional resume. You need to have your LinkedIn profile URL that looks
So
professional.
is that an option available for everybody on LinkedIn, or is that a
Yes,
premier option?
it's available for everyone. And if
Okay.
you so LinkedIn mobile app, it may not have all the features, but if you log on using the web version, so you have a lot more features than what you actually get on a mobile app.
Okay.
So yeah.
So you have to log into your laptop and then
Yeah.
to be able to see that feature, and then
Yes,
that's an
yes.
important, that's an
Yeah. So
important point.
once you
And
once you go to your profile section, at top right, you will have edit profile URL. There will be an editable field.
okay,
And yeah, you need to make it unique, and you need to add the text so that it looks professional. So Ron
and
Johnson is more professional than having like Ron Johnson or
yeah, a
RJ,
bunch
or
of characters. Yeah,
yeah, a
bunch of
bunch of
characters. Yeah,
characters, right? So yeah.
yeah. And would you include that? So in the resumes that you sent out for the job positions, did you
For
include
sure.
your LinkedIn profile always?
Yeah. Always. I'll
Okay.
recommend everyone to do it, because resume, for sure you need to have it, but you can't add everything on your resume, right? So people, recruiters, they usually don't go through all the things you add to your resume. They
Exactly.
rather would like to see it on professional platforms like LinkedIn, or if you are a developer, like you need to have a GitHub profile as well.
And do you recommend creating posts? And what kind of post do you think you should put out on your profile?
So this is a tricky question, because I myself, I didn't, I'm not very good at writing. If there is any interesting topic, you can actually write well. So it should, your post should reflect what you do, or what you are looking up to for your next role.
And so in your
Yeah,
strategy,
go ahead.
did you end up creating any posts, or you just engaged with people based on their posts and you
So
commented on their?
I did create a few.
Okay.
For example, let's say in my next role, I wanted to move into a full stack role, or a backend role, or a Python role, or a
Right.
machine learning role. So what my strategy would be is, probably there are like few learning platforms available globally. Like for example, if you want to learn full stack development, there is a very nice website called Free Code Camp, which has a very good curriculum to bring you up to speed. So
free code camp.
Yeah, free code camp.
Okay.
It's for web and UI development. It's a self-paced platform.
Okay.
And yeah, so I follow them on LinkedIn. So what I used to do is, if I see any interesting article on React or Angular or maybe JavaScript, so I would reshare and add my view on top of it, so that I don't have to write everything from scratch. Apart from that, if there is any interesting or a useful post, I would add some thoughtful comment on that post. That is what I mean, being active, or being creating some content.
Yes, and you're leveraging the professionals out there, online media that's already putting out content and articles out there, and engaging with those articles, and basically displaying your thought leadership
Right.
on the topic,
yes.
right?
And some people could be very good at writing, so I definitely recommend them to freely express their thoughts, rather than this is for people who are not very fluent writers.
Right. And I also remember you mentioned that when you were reaching out to the mentors, you would look at their profile and see there are people who share that their causes that they're interested in terms of volunteering, and some of them would put the access or the employment agencies or other new immigrant agencies that are available, and then that would give you a clue that they are open to talking to people.
That's what I was referring to. So when you go through even my profile, so I'm associated with a platform called Arrive, which is a newcomer support group from RBC. So when someone looks at me, looks at my profile, they have a clue that so I help newcomers, or I take part in those kind of activities. And if they mention that point when they are sending a connection request to me, so I would at least think that, okay, so that guy, so they have spent some time to know about me. So okay, so let's see like what he wants, or like let's try to help them. So that creates at least some positive impression.
Yeah, this is quite interesting, because you're showing both sides of the perspective and the engagement. One from the job seeker who's looking for a new contact, and the other from someone who's receiving the connection request, and what are they thinking about when they're
so what I would usually suggest or tell to people is, even though you are sending a connection request or a personalized message to somebody, it's you can't expect everyone, or to accept, or spend their time, because everyone has their priorities, right? So you can't expect someone to spend their personal time for you. So that's I would say, like, expect the worst. If you get some positive response, then you'll be more happy, right? So
that's the best way to go about it, right?
Yeah.
And the other question that I had was, since you moved into Canada in, I think, April of 2019, and now we are in 2020, it's about a year and a half. So you still have some of your fresh memories of working in your native country in Asia and South Asia, and compare that to Canada in terms of work culture, lifestyle, in terms of the benefits. Can you give a comparison about why you chose Canada? What are the differences that you see from the companies because you did work for good companies even back home? You worked with big multinational corporations, and so what are your initial? We all come to Canada with an initial idea and a picture and an image in our mind of what Canada is. And then when we come in there, our brain automatically tries to compare it with the images that we have, and then we try to figure out how much of it is actually true, and then what are the differences that we noticed. So could you just share some of your experiences?
Yeah, sure. That's that's a very good question, and that's a big. There's so many topics to.
Let's just maybe just deal with work life. Let's just focus on one topic here to make it easier.
Sure.
So in work life, what are the differences?
So when it comes to work culture and work life, there are certain differences. For example, when you become a seasoned professional, so you tend to move up in the ladder, right? So you tend to choose not just in Canada, so not just in India, it's everywhere. It's just a general human perspective, right? But in India, back home, so So people like they tend to get into management roles as their experience grows. For example,
Yes.
someone with 12 or 15 years of experience in India, 80 like at least like 70 to 80% of people you see them in like management roles. But whereas in Canada or maybe US also, you might still see them as individual contributors within the team. So Ruju, you're a product owner, so I think you must be knowing
Right.
this already.
I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
yeah, so and also in terms of work life balance or work culture, other than this, I'm not complaining, but sometimes back home, like managers, they used to emphasize working late or
Mhm.
working or the weekends. But here they do consider your personal life, and they don't interfere
Mhm.
outside your office hours. But in my case and Ruju's case, it could be a little different. but but
Right.
but but in general, and according to what I have seen and what I've observed, this is like at least 60 to 70% of the managers, they respect your personal time, and they tend to decouple, and they don't want to interfere in your personal time.
That's very true, because in countries like China and India and countries like Africa, concept of work and the number of hours you are expected to, as a
Yeah, yeah,
community and a culture, to dedicate towards work is far higher. Versus
yeah.
in Canada, we tend to be very conscious about the 40-hour work week so that you actually have time to spend with your family and your kids. In fact, Canada has a
Right.
day called Family Day, where you have a long
Yes,
weekend
yes. Yeah,
actually spending time with the family. And
yeah, yeah.
people understand that you need to have a good personal life to be able to be productive at work, and there is a certain level of
For sure.
respect
Yeah, for
and
sure.
people understanding that your personal time is your personal time. You don't need to know exactly what they're doing in your personal time. That's up to you, as long as
Yeah,
the
yeah.
work is done and the work is delivered. So that's an important point that you brought up. And
Yes.
in terms of, like, let's say, I mean, we talked about the fact that, like, back home we have help,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, to do
Mm-hmm.
things at home, and
Yeah,
here obviously we're doing everything by ourselves.
yeah.
But in terms of, like, say, transportation and commuting and going to work and coming back and all of that. I mean, you lived in cities like Hyderabad. How do you find that?
I must say, like Toronto is very well connected, at least within the greater Toronto, metropolitan region. Commute is seamless, though it could be, hectic at times or crowded at times. But in general, Toronto, Greater Toronto, or Mississauga, these places, they are like very well connected through the transits, like subway or bus or and most people they use public transport in Canada. But back home, like they tend to come to office using their personal vehicles. And another deciding factor in Canada that makes people to use public transit more is hefty parking prices.
Right, right.
So
So there's an
if you
incentive.
yeah,
Yeah,
if you're working downtown and if you want to like park, you need to pay a lot.
that's absolutely right.
That's something I've observed. Yeah.
You
Mm.
started off in engineering,
Yeah.
and in electronics and engineering, and
Yeah.
then you made a switch and decided that you're going to become a full stack developer. Did you do that while you were in, like, the third year or final year of electronics engineering? How did you make that switch?
So yeah, that's an interesting question because many people, though they study something else, so they are
Right.
making switch into IT,
Yes.
and yeah, it depends on person to person. But in my case, what happened is I didn't do this intentionally, but during my campus placement, so I
Mhm.
like Mahindra, my first company, that was I secured that job through campus placement. So when they visited, so they need to hire someone like who are good at problem solving. It need not necessarily be you should be a computer science graduate, but they rather focus on hiring somebody who's good at problem solving or good at providing efficient solutions. It doesn't depend
Mhm.
on what you study basically. So
Right. Right.
but
Right.
but when you as your experience grows, it those computer science basics, they so as you become a seasoned programmer, you need to hone your skills on a constant basis, because technology is like it's ever changing, and in my case, like I said, I got into Tech Mahindra. That was my first company, and we had a training initially for almost
Mhm.
like 2 to 3 months, so that brushes up all the computer science fundamentals and a few technologies like Java, HTML, and things like that. So that even made us more confident. Okay, okay, so we can still, we can continue in this, profession. And as you grow, like I said, you need to, nobody will be there, to hold your hand and take you forward. It's you, that you need to keep yourself updating.
And so say we have some of our listeners who have moved to Canada and they want to make a switch. They want to
Mhm.
pivot into technology, into IT, into development.
Yeah.
What would your advice be to them? Like, what inputs would you give them in terms of making that switch?
Yeah, so this is a really good question again, because I have seen like people who wanted to switch into IT once they come to Canada. So for people for people like who have that thought in mind, what I would recommend is there are some bridging programs. Most of the universities in Canada, they offer, like, for example, if you look at University of Toronto, they have a program called School of Continuing Studies,
Mhm.
right? So they have like few certificate or professional diplomas that can open that gateway for you. So they
Mhm.
have courses like data engineer or full stack developer. Not just universities, even there are educational technology companies, for example General Assembly. I would say, like, doing those bridging programs, first of all, you'll have access to the tech community within Canada, within Toronto. They tend to conduct workshops and all, so that you can interact more with people in your target domain, right? And also, end of the day, when you do some live project during that bridging program, you actually are enhancing your IT skills. So I would definitely recommend, if somebody wants to make a switch, try to search for any bridging or certificate programs in the area of your interest.
Okay, awesome.
So, Trinadh, the question I had was, what
Mhm.
is the one thing you find hardest when it comes to software development?
Okay. Okay, so
I'm sure you don't find anything hard, but just for our listeners.
no, that's a myth, That's a myth. So I would say, as a fresher, you'll be like scared as hell. If you are a fresher, like, you'll be like very very scared. If you're not from, if the candidate is someone like me who is not from actual computer science,
Right.
they initially have that imposter syndrome, or whatever you call it, unless they get familiar with software development practice, right? So initially, just like any other fresh graduate, I had that fear in me. As learn and evolve, those things will they won't come into your head. And also, even if you switch to a new company, you need to, that's just like, you may have some experience, but it's just like you joined a new college or a new university or a new school. So you need to get familiar with their their process of software development, and the infrastructure could be different, or the architecture could be different. So initially, you should spend some time to analyze and understand, and you should ask, like, relevant questions to your team and seniors. I always say to my friends and colleagues that we should listen more than we talk, because that's why we have like 2 years in one mouth. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Trinadh, any specific things to watch out for during immigration that you remember from your experience and that you learned? Anything that any mistakes that we can avoid? Any things to pay attention to when for people who are in their home countries right now, trying to figure out how and when to go about planning out and execute their immigration strategy?
Yeah, sure. Immigration, it's not so easy. So it's a mental, emotional, it's a journey.
Right.
So what I would recommend is, first, go through the official site to and jot down what they need, because everything, like, right from creating the profile until you submit everything to the immigration department, it's specific to person to person. So first, I would recommend to understand how the process works, and I would recommend, like, jotting down what they need, like, right from evaluating educational credentials or getting their language test done. I would say follow a systematic approach, so that you won't get into any trouble later on. And also, if you don't get any if the process is confusing, or if you feel like it's confusing, I would say join any migration, support groups on Facebook or WhatsApp, and try to first follow what's happening in that forum. If that makes sense, then stay on, or else you just leave, because and also try to be active on these professional platforms, because everywhere, it's like I said, it's a journey, and nothing happens in a day. So you need to take you need to proceed at every step with utmost care. Yeah, that's what I would say.
When you're saying professional platforms, are you referring to LinkedIn, or are you referring to Facebook, or any other platform?
So LinkedIn, Facebook also, and a few websites like Canada Visa Forum. Also, like I said, I'm part of Arrive, right? So Arrive also, they conduct timely webinars, and also they post articles about immigration, and yeah, they can also be handy.
Yeah, Arrive is under RBC Ventures, and it's a great app and community that is trying to help the new immigrants with the right information. It's definitely a good community to be a part of. What is your advice for people considering to move to Canada? That means people are moving to Canada for different reasons. Some people move for work-life balance. Some people move for financial stability. Some people move for the future of their children. They want a better future, and because of the education institutions available in Canada. Some people move because of retirement benefits, pension, the safety net that is there, and the healthcare, and also even if you're unemployed, you have employment insurance. And some people look for a better lifestyle, and so there are different reasons why people move to Canada from different parts of the world. What would your advice be for people considering to move to Canada?
Yeah, so when I was answering my previous question, right, I mentioned a point saying that we should jot down what we should do, or like what we are expecting after immigration. So we should have a clear idea. We shouldn't follow the crowd just like that, because once you come here, it's not so easy, because everyone's case is different. So they should first do a lot of research on understanding and identifying what this country offers, right? All the points that you just mentioned, right, from employment or unemployment benefits or insurance. So in my case, it's for better quality of life, and also to get some financial stability. So I have these two things in mind, and I all the other things that you have mentioned, so I came to know about them later on, at some later point. But you should have at least like one or two points, positives that you expect Canada to give you, right? It all takes a lot of research, Ron. So I would say do proper research, and maybe like join webinars from Access Employment or Arrive, or for that matter any other support group. What I'm saying is people they themselves can't figure out all these things, right? So when they attend any virtual webinar or a session, so then other people might be asking these sort of questions. So that's how we come to learn about all these things. So after filtering what this country offers, you should identify, based on your personal preference, what are the pros and cons. Weather definitely is a disadvantage, because not all people are used to cold weathers. So if someone have any health issues or risks, I would say do spend some time to decide whether to come, or whether to or maybe find an alternative.
So overall, would you recommend them coming to Canada? What would your...
I would say yes, because my case, I have no regrets coming here. So, and if any of my friends asks me, or if somebody asks me for advice, then I would say I would present all these pros and cons to them, and I would ask them what their preference, and just a rough idea. Based on that, I would give my piece of advice, and it's up to the actual person to decide. Yeah, I would say definitely consider coming to Canada.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
And after they come to Canada, what are the things that they need to do to ensure that they're well networked, that they're active and they build a community?
They should actually start doing networking even before they land in Canada using platforms like LinkedIn or maybe some webinars. Even immigration Canadian immigration department, they also conduct few webinars maybe once in a while, once in a quarter. So I would say start attending those webinars or sessions about immigration or career, so that let's say I attended some workshop on resume writing, okay,
Uh-huh.
and there is so I was really impressed by the way the speaker or the organizer explained how the Canadian resume should like. So that gives me an opportunity to add that point in my message, in my personalized connection request when I'm sending a request to
Uh-huh.
that organizer, or like for that matter whosoever attended that session. So I would say try to attend more of that. I would say that is a beginning point for networking.
Okay. And any volunteer organizations that you recommend after they land in Canada, any associations to be a part of, so that they can build their community and expand their knowledge and awareness in
Yeah,
Canada?
so YMCA, for sure, they have few employment assistance programs, and also there is one more thing called LINC, LINC.
Uh-huh.
I think that stands for Language Instruction for a newcomer to Canada. So if you are not confident speaking in English, so you can actually go to them and get their help. That way, you can make yourself better in English, communicating in English. And also there is one more product from RBC Ventures called Prepped. So
Okay.
the website is fullyprepped.ca. So that
So
they have
that's
it as
different
is.
from Arrive. Yeah.
Yeah, that's different from Arrive. So Arrive, mainly focuses on newcomer support and career advice,
Uh-huh.
settlement, and things like that. But Prepped, it's only for preparing your resume or doing some virtual interviews. They'll have some templates for a few common questions that you may get in interviews. They have some template using which you can build your answers. So I would recommend people like checking this website out. It's called fullyprepped.ca.
Were there any other tools that you used? Did you use any ATS software to help you with your resumes when you were sending them out, or any other tips that you?
Not ATS, but I found like few people at Arrive who can do resume critiquing, and
Mhm.
also they do resume critiquing workshops. So during that I found someone like who does that, and I reached out to her on LinkedIn. And once
Mhm.
I prepared my resume, so first of all we need to figure out ourselves how a Canadian resume should look like. So during my journey, Arrive and LinkedIn, they played a major role. So Arrive, they posted. They were in initial stages when I was during this phase of my migration. So they posted a very interesting article on resume writing. Using that, like I updated and made my resume according to Canadian standards, and I sent it to her for review. So that's how I got my resume done. I would say like Canadianized my resume. I'm not
Mhm.
sure of any ATS softwares or websites that you can use to optimize your resume.
Was there any, like, in terms of cost, like was there anything that you invest, like were any of these workshops, was there a charge associated with it? When did you subscribe to the LinkedIn premium feature when you subscribe to LinkedIn, or anything else that you felt was a good investment that actually helped you improve your chances of getting your
LinkedIn, yeah. That's an interesting question again. So people are, skeptical when it comes to like spending money, whether to go ahead or is it worth investing. So I would say LinkedIn Premium, it's a really worthy investment, because once you sign up for Premium, you also get LinkedIn Learning access, right? And also your visibility gets improved. You can send direct messages to other people, like even though they are not part of your network. So there are certain advantages. So if they can afford, I would say sign up for the premium package. When it comes to
Mhm.
Arrive and also few employment or a newcomer support group, most of the till now all the webinars or all the workshops Arrive conducts are free, and also from Access Employment, I'm not sure if they have any plans to change that model. So I
Mhm.
would say, yeah, try to sign up for as many workshops and webinars as you can.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today, and I really appreciate all the inputs you give. And I'm sure our listeners are going to benefit from this. Like I said, it's amazing to find someone who implements everything that I'm teaching, and this is again validation, proof that it still works to market and use the LinkedIn profile and the LinkedIn algorithm to actually get jobs towards you and attract jobs towards you.
Well, thank you so much for joining. It was really, really great hearing, you answering all the questions, and your story and your journey is pretty amazing. It inspired me, and I'm pretty sure it inspired a lot of our listeners as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I mean, thank you so much for your, for inviting me for this podcast. Even I get a chance to answer so many questions which many people, they don't pay attention to. I'm hoping this would be helpful to our listeners, and I appreciate you both, like starting this sort of initiative, because you yourself, like you both are newcomers for that matter, right? So
Absolutely, absolutely.
it's that the goal is paying it forward. So
Exactly.
yeah,
So
I wish you all the best in this initiative, and
thank you for
I'll
sharing
be happy
all
to
the tricks
contribute.
and tips. It's really going to help everybody. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Awesome.
much. Thank you, Trinadh.
I hope you found this podcast useful. Why don't you tell us any specific questions you have about immigration in the comment section below? If you are an immigrant and would like to share your story with us, please email us at wiseenougpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks so much for tuning in, listeners. I'm your host, Ruju, and this is the Wise Enough podcast series.